Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. And of course, I'm your host, John June. Wouldn't be a Wednesday as we record this ahead of Thursday Night Football without my guy, my co-host, Gregory Penniman. Had to pull up the government on that one. Not the full government, though. But, Greg, what's up, man?
What's good? Thursday night game, dealing with my Giants, actually. Not a very good start to that week one. We didn't really get to talk about our teams, but, it wasn't really much to talk about. But, yeah, we here going against this Washington football team.
Hey, don't speak for yourself. I enjoyed my Sunday. I expected my team to lose. I didn't have expectations for them to win. But my quarterback played well, and that's really all I cared about. Got pummeled, but not today. We're not talking about the New York Jets today. We're talking about the New York Giants facing Washington. But before we even get to that, we got to get to the streams of the week. And I just want to remind everybody, we talked about waivers. We did the waiver show, which released, we recorded it Monday night, released Monday, Tuesday, depending on if you're listening podcast, watching on YouTube, however you may be listening or watching. Just make sure you're subscribing. But we talked about the waiver show. One of the things that we have to mention today, right, especially after waivers happen, is check to see who's getting dropped in your leagues, right? Brandon Ayuk, for example, he put up a 0. Zeros in fantasy football tend to put people on tilt. He very well could be on your waiver. So on your waiver wire, he very well could have been dropped. So go check out your waiver wire, see who's getting dropped in your leagues. And as we talk about Thursday Night Football, I must reiterate, get those Thursday night players out of your flex. Even if you play super flex, do not put your quarterback, your quarterback who plays the early game in your super flex spot. Put them in your quarterback spot and swap it around. Anything could happen. You never know. But, Greg, before we get to that, let's hit the streams of the week here. And gotta ask you, Greg, who is your quarterback stream of the week this week?
This week, I'm going to go with my man, Big Ben Roethlisberger. Versus the Raiders. He's definitely a very up and down quarterback, but when he's doing really well, he's at home. So that's one. He's already at home. He's 37% rostered. Had an okay to pretty mediocre game last game, 18 for 32 for 188 and a touch. They got the win, but they're set for a bounce back game versus the Raiders, a team that's definitely vulnerable in the secondary. In the home opener, as I said, West Coast team traveling to the East Coast. This is all set up for Big Ben in this offense to recover and improve with these receivers.
Yeah, Big Ben is a good one. We talked off air. That was definitely somebody that I was considering. Big Ben's rostership always befuddles me. Like, I'm like, why is he rostered? Like, why is he rostered so high? Like
37 is the lowest I've seen in a while.
No,
Yeah.
37 is definitely low, and I think that we've been conditioned to expect it to be high, that when we see 37, we're like, whoa. But to me, that's still too high. Like 37% rostered is still too high for Mr. Big Ben Roethlisberger. But talk about a reputation carrying you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's got the Matt Ryan. That's how he's going to be. He's going to be that high roster for a little bit, I had to dig in there real quick.
Just had to throw it in the
Yeah. Matt Ryan.
Well, I will not be talking about Matt Ryan today. I'm actually going to be talking about Teddy Bridgewater. 15% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Gets to go up against Jacksonville this week. If we like to do fantasy points per dropback. We like to look at passing fantasy points per dropback here on the show. One of the things we really started doing last year was, hey, what happens when we take the fantasy points per dropback a quarterback has produced, add that to the fantasy points per dropback against the matchup, and see where are these glaring matchups happening. Well, if you do that with Teddy Bridgewater and Jacksonville, you have the 11th best matchup on the week in just passing fantasy points per dropback, right? So we're not even talking about, we know Teddy Bridgewater can do things with his legs, will run around the goal line and whatnot. Was over 260 passing yards last week against a pretty good Giants defense. Also had 2 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, Tyrod Taylor was going for 291 and 2 touchdowns against his Jacksonville defense. I think Teddy B has a pretty nice day for us this weekend.
Yeah, Teddy Two Glove. He's just always been a popular streaming quarterback, definitely for us last year. Yeah, he's going to continue to do it this year.
Definitely, gonna stream him when those opportunities come up for sure.
Yep.
Greg, who's your tight end stream of the week this week?
Oh man, this is a layup, bro. This is a layup. Jared Cook versus Dallas. Like, first of all, he's 32% rostered. That's so low. A third, he couldn't even get to a third of fantasy community he gets 8 targets from Justin Herbert in week 1. If I'm getting 8 targets from Herbert in week 1, I should be rostered more than 50% of the leagues. Like, this is going to be a perfect matchup for him versus Dallas, who just gave up 8 for 90 and 2 touchdowns to a tight end in Rob Gronkowski, going from Tom Brady, lighting it up. This is a must stream for him. He's going to get high opportunities in one of the highest game totals of the week. I think it is the highest at 52.5. He was third on the Chargers in targets, as I mentioned, and 4th in routes run. So this is just a layup for Jared Cook right here.
Yeah, one of the things that I've liked the most, we'll dig into it when we talk about the Chargers matchup later this week. But one of the things I liked the most was the Chargers in week 1. They threw the ball on 1st and 2nd down 61% of the time. They had 25 of Justin Herbert's 47 pass attempts came on 1st and 2nd down. That shows an intent, a want to throw the football, and that's what you want from Justin Herbert. That's what you want from the Chargers offense. And if Jared Cook is on the receiving end of that, then why not? And I was going to go Jared Cook, but then I was like, there's no way. There's no way Greg doesn't go Jared Cook this week. There's like literally zero chance that Greg does not go Jared Cook this week as his tight end stream of the week. So I didn't even bother. I'm actually going with Dalton Schultz, who also plays in this game. 2% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Ran the 4th most routes of all tight ends at the position last week. This game has a 55.5 point total. There should be a lot of back and forth as indicated by the close point spread. Both these teams run at a fast. They run plays at a fast rate. The Dallas Cowboys ran over 80 plays last week. The Chargers ran almost 80 plays. I think they were at 79. There will probably be a lot of plays in this game. And Dalton Schultz, who saw a 10% target share, which equated to 6 targets
Give me all of that.
In this Dallas Cowboys offense, right? 10% in other passing offenses would be like 2 or 3 targets, but he's getting 6 here. So by all means, Dalton Schultz, he's got to be in consideration. Shoot, Blake Jarwin might even be in consideration.
Bro, anybody. I'll take all the pieces in this game. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a fun game for sure. Excited to see how many starts of the week come out of it. Greg, your defense and special team stream of the week, man.
So I'm going to go with Green Bay. I think they were embarrassed. They're going against Detroit. They're 33% rostered. They were embarrassed by the Saints in week 1. I think they're definitely playing a more inferior team that they want to come out and be ravenous for a win. I think, they'll be ahead, probably by big at some point in the game, which will force Goff to make a lot of throws, maybe force some turnovers, some sacks, get a pick. So I'm going with Green Bay here as they 2 bounce back weeks. One for Big Ben, one for Green Bay.
Yeah, I like that one, man. 10.5 point favorites, I believe, against Detroit. So that's always a good formula. Take the home defense that is largely favored. So, and they were probably rage dropped last week. So,
oh yeah.
I could definitely see that happening. So, actually, my defensive stream of the week this week, Greg, you probably already know who it is because we co-manage a few leagues together. So you probably saw the transactions come in. The Arizona Cardinals is my defensive stream of the week. This morning when I checked, they were 7% rostered. As we record this here on Wednesday night, they are 43% rostered. Ooh. So people have sharpened up. The Arizona Cardinals were the number 1 defense in fantasy in week 1. 6 sacks, an interception, 2 fumble recoveries. But they have a defensive line, which if you know the formula, if you've been listening to us for 3 years, the reason we found San Francisco, the defensive line. The reason we found Washington, the defensive line. I'm looking here again. I see a defensive line. It's not as young as San Fran and Washington had the last 2 years, but Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, those guys can play. And then you consider the speed that they have on the back end at linebacker and at safety in the secondary. Those guys fly around. They've been putting a lot of resources into the defensive side of the ball the last 2 years. Maybe it's finally caught up, but they get to go up against Minnesota. In week 1, the Arizona Cardinals were tied in first with what I like to call Havoc Rate, which is the percentage of plays by a defense that result in either a sack, a quarterback hit, tackle for loss, pass deflection, or an interception. They did that 50% of the time, 50% of the plays on Sunday against the Tennessee Titans. Number 1 in that category. They looked really good on that side of the ball. And again, they get Minnesota, which is not an overly great matchup, but a pass rush can really cause trouble for any offense. Plus, this is like a 2-week stream because they get Jacksonville next week, which could be a really great matchup by the time we get to it. So, Arizona, that's my defensive stream of the week.
Yeah, and against Kirk Cousins, who's not a very mobile quarterback, that's a formula for success for sure for some sacks.
Definitely, man. Greg, another formula for success, besides listening to this show, is propping up, man, with Thrive Fantasy, bro. So why don't you tell everybody what great promo Thrive has for the people this week?
Oh, man, you already know. So at Thrive, where you can come up and thrive on fantasy football, Thrive Fantasy this season. We already know that Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports app and esports app for player props. With Thrive, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus on the top tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Again, you're going to choose 10 out of 20 available player props to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both the over and the under based on how likely it is to hit the most props, and rack up the most points to win a share of the prize pool. Again, Thrive has over 140,000 guaranteed prizes for Animal Week 1, and it did it for awarded over $4 million. And for this, if you're using that promo code FFDX, new users, if you deposit $20 and you get a free ticket to Thursday's $15,000 NFL contest for the Washington football team versus the New York Giants, and you get a free ticket to Sunday's $50,000 NFL contest. All users, just you can also enter the 5K for the PGA contest 6 times, and a free ticket to Sunday's $50,000 NFL contest. Again, $20, you receive a 100% deposit match up to $100 as well. So come thrive on Thrive Fantasy today.
Yes, sir. Now let's move on, man, to this matchup. And then, the Thursday night show, again, or the Thursday night preview is not a lot to cover. There's only one game that we're talking about. We get to talk about it a little bit more intimately, but I don't think Greg wants to do that for this particular matchup here, as we have the zero.
Such a drop off, This is crazy drop off from last Thursday night
from
to
last
this,
Thursday,
man.
right?
Crazy.
But we've got the 0-1, the winless New York Giants, traveling to Washington, to Maryland, Landover, Maryland, FedEx Field to take on the Washington football team, who also are 0-1. Happen to be winless. This game has a 40.5 point total. The Washington football team, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, are 3.5 point favorites. In terms of this, the injuries, Evan Ingram for the Giants, he's out with a calf injury. Saquon Barkley is questionable with that knee injury that obviously he's been dealing with, or the recovering from surgery that he had last year. Linebacker Cam Brown, he's going to be out with the knee injury, was actually added to the injured reserve, if I'm not mistaken. And then, or the hamstring injury, sorry. So I don't think he was on an injured reserve. But Shane Lemieux, the offensive guard for the Giants, he is out with a knee injury. In terms of the Washington football team, we know that Ryan Fitzpatrick, the quarterback, he will miss this game. He's been placed on IR, will be out approximately 6 to 8 weeks with a a hip dislocation, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just say a hip injury. I don't want to mischaracterize, but will be missing time with a hip injury. Taylor Heineke, who made the entrance in the playoff game last year against Tampa Bay, and also made an appearance last week against the LA Chargers, will start as the quarterback. In terms of weather, not much to be worried about. There's some thunderstorms about right before kickoff. 17% chance of precipitation during kickoff and during the game, and that stays pretty steady all throughout midnight. So, Greg, where are you at with this game? What are your expectations from a fantasy perspective?
I'm taking the over. This line definitely moved down a lot in the last couple of days. So I'm taking the over. I'm taking Washington to cover. I'm taking Washington to win. I think Washington's D-line just going to have a field day on Daniel Jones. So it would be hard for the Giants to move the ball and get first downs. This is, Washington. This is why you drafted Washington as a great defense, one of the starts of the week probably. On the Giants side, Daniel Jones, I think, again, 2 quarterback option. You're banking on some rushing floor. Got that game expiring rushing TD in week 1, so that put him in that top 12 range at QB. So definitely you're banking on something in his legs to get you some points. As far as Saquon, if you can avoid starting him, I think I would try. This is another brutal matchup for him. The O-line gave him no holes in week 1. He only had 2.6 yards per carry. Only got 1 target in the passing game. I think this is a stash and a wait for week 3. You probably draft him. You might be most likely to start him. But if you can really find some good depth, like if you have Eli Mitchell today, if you got him, or James White, I think is even a safer play against the Jets. So you got to go that option. Both Sterling and Galladay are at flex options. I think as they'll likely be the leaders in the receptions on the team. Shepard has the tougher matchup with Kendall Fuller in that slot, but I think Shepard will get his. So you got these both flex consideration for both these guys. And that's pretty much it for the Giants side. On Washington, Taylor Heineke also in that 2 quarterback option. I think he could be he was solid in relief last week, went 11 for 15, 122 and a touch. So I think he's definitely a solid 2 QB option. There'll definitely be opportunities for him. Antonio Gibson, RB1 option. This is a good spot for him. A good smash spot. Denver's rush attack, took advantage of the Giants last week, especially with Melvin Gordon breaking out and getting that big run. On the receiving side, only receiver I'm intriguing is Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. This man still has the safe floor, even in the tough matchup against Bradbury and Adoree Jackson. Those 2 games last year against the Giants, posted the 7 receptions for 74 yards and also got 7 receptions for 115 and a touchdown. So I'm not worried about Terry and what he's going to do in this matchup to be a bust. That's not going to happen. And Logan Thomas is a tight end 1. I think every week he has low end tight end 1 consistently with some top 5 upside.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on the game. I went back and forth, on the total here because 40.5 points is not a lot.
Nah.
If there was a game where you could get under 40.5, it's probably this one this week. But I'm gonna take the over here. I'm taking Washington to cover, taking Washington to win this game. It has ugly written all over it.
Yeah.
And both teams played ugly last week. And one of those games had Justin Herbert in it. So it's definitely possible for that to happen again this week. Taylor Heineke, I don't know if people are concerned necessarily, but they shouldn't be. I mean, at least I'm not.
No.
He played well last year in the playoff game, coming in late against a good Tampa Bay defense. Also played well this year. Coming in unexpectedly against what I believe will be a good Chargers defense this year. And he shows something that Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't really have, which is not at this point in his career, which is mobility, the escapability, the ability to extend plays, which ultimately I think is going to be good for all the pieces in this offense. Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, even AG, because that means we're extending drives, things so on and so forth. So, to top it off, and I'm not saying all this to say, hey, we should start Taylor Heineke this week, but in 2 quarterback leagues, I think he's definitely an option. And I think that in one quarterback leagues, he's somebody that will be streaming at different points throughout the year. I mean, he was 7th on the week in week 1 in fantasy points per drop back. And that has nothing to do with the amount of pass attempts that he had or the game. It's simply an efficiency metric. So, he was 7th in it, and I think that he can continue to do something similar as the weeks progress. But now that I've got that long-winded rant out of my way about Taylor Heineke, for Washington, give me Terry McLaurin. I think I'm just going to put him as a wide receiver too, just solely based on the situation that he's in. But like you said, those 2 big games against the Giants last year, I don't think there's any reason why he can't have another big game this year. I think I know Dory Jackson wasn't on the Giants last year, but I think he's just a different type of corner than James Bradbury, or a different type of receiver than James Bradbury would typically have success against.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Terry McLaurin could still get it done here. AG mid-range, like high-end RB2 with that RB1, like monstrous RB1 upside. I mean, he saw a ton of the work last week. J.D. McKissic only had 1 target in the pass game, while Antonio Gibson had, I think, 4. Yep. So that's definitely what we want to see. So if that continues, then bona fide RB1 every single week, top 10 option at the position.
Yes, sir.
No questions asked. Just hope to see that continue. Logan Thomas, tight end 1. Low end tight end 1, but has that mid range tight end 1. He's not going to kill you, right? It's going to be like him and Robert Tonyan. They're like Tonyan killed you last week, but Tonyan actually he's more touchdown dependent than Logan Thomas is. Yeah. So I'm not even going to throw Tonyan in the conversation. But Logan Thomas, he's not going to kill you. He's got a decent floor. Is going to be an option every week. And then for the Giants, I don't really want to start anybody. I mean, this game is ugly. It's atrocious. The Giants are projected for have an implied team total of 18.5 points. It's not a lot. I'm not interested. I don't want to attach myself to Daniel Jones. In terms of Saquon Barkley, I've got him outside my top 24 in terms of running backs, RB 25. I still think, again, that's just basically the talent that he is. I don't really want to put him as my RB 25 this week, because when you do the math, right, like the Giants are coming off a short week, so Saquon Barkley hasn't played in a football game in a year. He's probably more sore than the average NFL running back is sore after a game. And if you're the Giants and you're looking at it, you're like, well, we play Saquon Barkley this week, but then he has 10 days to get right next week. And so I think next week is probably where you're looking. You've been saying week 3 for a while now. I think week 3 is probably where you're going to look at Saquon Barkley and say, hey, this is the game where we're going to get double-digit touches from potentially from Saquon Barkley here, and productive touches. But this game, like you said, if I have a better option, I'll probably go to it. You said James White. I wanted to cringe, but I think about it, and it's just like, it's really not that. I mean, if you're in PPR, like, James White is a very good option over Saquon Barkley. But I will say, if you're a standard a half, I'll probably lean Saquon just because I lean a little bit more upside there. But on the Giants, in terms of receivers, Sterling Shepard, he's a guy that I'm probably into. I know the matchup is bad with Kendall Fuller, but I feel like he's with no Saquon Barkley to absorb targets, no Evan Ingram in the middle of the field. I think that Sterling Shepard is going to just gobble up targets in the middle of the field. I feel like him on Thursday Night Football against Washington just screams like a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't know. 8 for 70, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Just it's just weird, but I get these vibes from Sterling Shepard.
I like it.
Kenny G, like he had actually a pretty decent game last week. Just don't want to tie myself. I was not a big believer in Kenny G this year, not a big believer in Daniel Jones this year, and I just don't want to attach myself to either one because with Kenny G, you're going to need efficiency. And I once said that Kenny G's quarterback wasn't efficient, but that was Matthew Stafford, and he has since proven me wrong. But Daniel Jones, I don't think he's efficient. So I'm gonna just go out on that limb and say I don't really want to play Sterling Shepard or Kenny Golladay rather. But I would as a wide receiver 3.5. Let's go with that.
Yeah, the more and more Daniel Jones plays, I don't want anyone attached to the Giants offense. Like Saquon, Sterling had a good effort, but when is one of these guys are gonna get a top 12 week? I can't see it happening soon until Saquon does it.
Does it upset you that had Justin Herbert come out the year before that the Giants would have taken Justin Herbert? They were head over heels in love with Justin Herbert?
Dang, I didn't know that. But dang, I like where their heads were, So it's not like they did a complete miss. He was in the draft class and they took Daniel Jones over him. So it just wasn't meant to be, I guess. So Spencer Rattler.
Oh man! All right. Well, do you have a bold prediction for us, Greg? I think last week I came through with both of my bold. I had a bold prediction. Both quarterbacks going over 302.
Okay. Mine was right. You edged me on to give AB 2. I should have said AB's gonna get 100 and a touchdown. That would have been good. But I'm gonna go with Terry Mclaurin get over 100 receiving yards. Yeah.
Terry McLaurin over 100 receiving yards. I'm gonna go with. Let me just make sure I'm not tripping wild and crazy on this one. You can see how prepared John was for his bold prediction here. But let's go with Antonio Gibson.
I like it, whatever it is.
For 2 tutties.
Ooh, yes. That's what I like to hear. Go, AG.
2 tutties. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. The Thursday night preview. It is beauty because it is our shortest episode of the week. And we need it because we got to get our rest. Because you know why? Tomorrow we'll be breaking down 10 games. And the day after that will be 6 games. And then we also got starts of the week. And we got to play some Get Money. And I feel like there's something else I forgot. But it doesn't even matter. It's not important right now.
Yeah,
What's important is that it's Thursday Night Football. The game's not great, but we will enjoy it because your Thursday night players will not be in your flex. Your Monday night players will be in your flex if applicable. And you're gonna rock with us. You're gonna stay tuned, stay subscribed, and hopefully we're gonna win a lot of chips this year.
Yeah, definitely. This game is definitely for those 2 QB options to make sure they're in that quarterback spot. You shouldn't be starting these quarterbacks in no 1 QB option. So they're definitely in Superflex League. So make that happen.
Yes, ma'am, or yes, sir. But yes, people to the people. I want to speak to the people. But have a good one, everybody. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate the love. And we're out of here.
Yes, sir. We out.